independence isn't all or nothing when you walk in the house. Just remember that it's your loved one's home and it's there. And even if they live with you, they still have ownership of themselves to say whether they want something or if they need something or can you do something for me. They still have the right to speak their minds, their opinions, and ask for things. And you want to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to do that. Their space is their space, just like your space is your space. People don't come into your home and say you have to do things this way or that way. And you want to make sure that you do the same for your loved ones. You have that respect and love them and just share ideas, communicate, because sometimes that's all they want is just somebody to listen to them or someone to just take a moment to pause and understand what they're just trying to get across, what point and what they're trying to say and what they need, because it's so important. Because sometimes if we take over, then they're not going to ask us for things later on. I learned that myself when I go to the hospital with my dad and somebody would say to me, well, you should know this and you've been taking care of him for how long, or you're in the medical field or blah, 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 and it's like, but I'm his daughter first, and I'm not going to sit there and nag him that he has to do this way or he has to do this way with his meds, because you want to make sure that you're there to support, but you also want to make sure that, if you scare someone away by nagging them or bugging them about the same stuff day after day, you have to do this way, or this has to be this way or that way, then people aren't going to always do it and they're not going to confide in you. And I found that my father would confide in me more because he wanted his daughter next to him. He didn't want a nurse. He didn't want somebody in the medical field. Just like he would talk to me about certain things, and he would talk to my brother about certain things. But it wasn't that he wasn't being honest or he didn't feel comfortable talking to me about things. It was just that, it's great to see that different family members or friends or neighbors, we all have our special talents, or we're all good at certain things. And my dad knew that. So he would go to the person who would know the answer or would take care of it quicker. And that's just how he was. He was smart enough to figure that out and do it on his own, right? And that's just all you want. And we're the same way. Sometimes when we want something done or we want to figure something out or we want to learn something, we'll take a class or we'll call someone that we know, one of our friends that can give us guidance, or someone that we know, right? So just making sure that we're going into that house and we're helping, we're not taking over. Just be respectful. Small support preserves dignity. The tiniest things can make people feel better, and giving them just that moment to make their own decisions, to make them feel independent, because that's all people want, is to live home and live as independent as long as they possibly can. Too much help creates dependence. Sometimes with my mother-in-law, she doesn't want to do her exercises, and it makes her weaker and weaker and weaker. And my father-in-law will say, okay, you got to do your exercises, and she'll do this thing with her hand like, I'm fine. And we all get a chuckle out of it, right? And she wants to live the way she wants to live. But when you have physical therapy coming in the house, she works with them. And we had a family member actually go in one day and just sit with my mother-in-law and kind of give my father-in-law a break. And she had told me that when she was helping my mother-in-law, she goes, I did her hair, we did this, we did that. And she goes, I even helped her do her exercises. I told her what to do, and just doing the marching with her legs and just trying to do a little bit of strengthening or just a little bit of cardio, not much, but just those little things. But she did them. She did them for her. But my father-in-law, no. Or maybe one of us, no. It's just funny how different people do different things depending on who's in front of them. But you want to make sure you're not doing every single thing for your loved one. You don't want to keep bringing everything in or having them do less and less and less, because in the end, you're hurting them more by making them more dependent on you, because when you're not there, it's going to be harder for them to do something for themselves. You want to make sure they can still get up and get their meal, or they know that their meals are in the freezer and they can just take it out and put it in the microwave if you're not there. It's great to help, but let them know that you're there to help when they need it, but not to be so dependent that they're not doing anything, because you want to keep them as long as you can independent and as strong as you can, and just healthy at home, right? Where the heart is, home is where the heart is. Keep them healthy and happy as long as possible. Keep them independent so that they can keep their strength up and just stay at home as long as they possibly can.